Well, we're back, and I wanted to touch upon a little bit what Roy was talking about, the banks. He was talking about the Asian investment banking. I'd like to talk a little bit about the IMF, the Federal Reserve, and the way our banking situation is here in the United States. In case nobody has noticed, 6 months after the last debt ceiling was increased, here we go again. And I want to commend Rand Paul. He attached a trailer to that bill that said, okay, yeah, we'll go ahead and allow you to raise the debt ceiling as long as we can audit the Fed. So, and I hope that happens. I hope it goes through. So, you know, it's hidden in plain sight, people. We keep raising this debt ceiling. Why do we keep having to raise this debt ceiling? Well, the number one cause is the compounding interest is killing us. Anytime that loans are made, and that's an abuse of the English language, but they're guaranteed by the American taxpayer. They print the currency or they put the computer entries in. The one thing they don't do is they don't print the interest. Okay, so it's an impossible situation, and it is a Ponzi scheme. It is a pyramid, and ultimately, all the wealth, everything, by repossessions, boom and bust, by this interest rate that's killing us, everything will end up owned in the hands of a few, the world elites. They will get everything. It's just a matter of time, and you know, just that one thing alone will destroy this country and will destroy the people of America. It's not a big mystery. It's not that hard to understand. Anybody that can balance a checkbook can figure this out. So we really got to go to a new monetary system. The other point is now what Roy was talking about, the Asian investment banking. They have a gold standard. There's an old saying, good money will always replace bad money. If America doesn't get on the ball and do something about their economy, we're going to end up a third world nation. As it is now, the US dollar and the rest of the world, I just saw where it's lost 95% of its buying power in the rest of the world. All of our industry's been outsourced. We are going to be a third world nation real soon. If we don't get this fixed, if we don't reinvest in America and her industries. And what is so important, you cannot do that without your natural resources. And the West has got all the natural resources for the most part. Just take the state of Nevada, for example. We're known as a silver state for a reason, and we also have huge gold reserves. So we could come up with a medium of exchange. We got a mint in Carson City, Nevada. We could come up with a medium of exchange, I think, fairly easily. Throw the EPA out, the BLM, the Forest Service, and take our natural resources that we as a people own collectively, not some elitist from another country or the elitist even in this country. The citizens of the state of Nevada collectively own those resources, and it's up to us to take them and use them to raise our standard of living. We got the highest rate of unemployment in the United States. I don't care. I mean, they fix the numbers. They cook the books all the time. The unemployment rate in the state of Nevada is insane. It's ridiculous. And law enforcement's always wondering why we got all this crime. Well, when people don't have a job or people can't make a living, notice I didn't say make money because we don't have printing presses. We make a living. And that's an important thing to understand. And when people can't make a living, they start doing crazy things. You know, we need to go out, we need to work every day, we need to use that energy and exercise and you know, put in a really good solid day, come home, sleep well. You know, if you're not doing those things, you're going to get bored. And other things there, you know, there's an old saying that an idle mind is a devil's workshop. Well, we got a lot of idle minds in the state of Nevada, and of course the rest of the country too. So, if just from a law enforcement's perspective, let me try to change that perspective. If you help us get our resources back under our control, and get these government agencies out of here that restrict our economy, we can put people back to work. And that's one reason I've never even been so concerned about the illegals, the illegal immigrants, the ones that are just looking for a higher standard of living or looking for a life. That's never really bothered me that bad. I do want them to be educated as to what made this country great, the Constitution of the United States. But I'll take those people. Just give me all the natural resources in the state of Nevada, kick the EPA, the BLM, Forest Service, and all the government agencies out of here, and we'll put everybody back to work, and we will have a standard of living that the world would be envious of. So I think I kind of summed it up there, that portion of it. I got a couple of scriptures that I believe are really important at this particular time. Here last year, I think it was last year sometime, yeah, it was, Roy brought out a really interesting point. And now here we got Northcom in the Jade Helm that's breathing down our neck. It's going to supposedly happen this summer. I think it can happen as early as this spring. So let me get the right one here. I got some markers in here and I turned to the wrong one. So, and this is in Joel. In the context of it, it is our time. And this is what the Lord said, "But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate." Well, just think about that. The state of Nevada is a rich, well, all the western states are very, very rich in natural resources. And the Northcom, the Northern Army, which we feel is referring to here, they're coming here because they're in a barren land, a barren country when it comes, and they're representing people that are basically need these rich resources, rich land. So they're in a barren land, and here they come, and it's actually mentioned to us in the scriptures.
The actual name Northern Army is used, and I think we talked about that in a video last year, and of course it's called Northcom. And Northcom and the Special Operations Command are made up of practically all hand-picked people from Iraq, Afghanistan, you know, the soldiers that went there. And I don't want to insult them, but the fact of the matter is that these people have been handpicked for their willingness to fight and harm American citizens in the name of the National Command Authority.
And if it ever gets to that point, and hopefully we can circumvent that, but if it does get that point, and like Roy said, these are not good people. They're willing to inflict upon you atrocities. And if it gets to that point, we're going to have to be tougher than they are. So, okay, now we have in Isaiah chapter 59, 19 through 21 is the verses. I didn't mention the ones in Joel, sorry. And again, this is in the context, is our time. And it said, "So shall they fear the name of the Lord from the west." And here we are in the western United States, and we're west from Jerusalem. "And his glory from the rising of the sun, when the enemy shall come in like a flood." Well, this Jade Helm, they're coming after the entire western United States plus Texas. Well, that sounds like coming in like a flood. And then the scripture goes on to say, "When the enemy should come in like a flood, the Spirit of the Lord shall lift up a standard against him." And that is what we believe that we're all about, is lifting up that standard against him. And you know, so far, quite honestly, I haven't seen anybody else do it. Roy and I talk about this all the time. I know Roy is very, very weary. He's been doing this for how many years, Roy?
I don't even want to say.
Yeah, how many years? And you know, his big complaint today is, "Brian, I've been doing this forever and ever and ever, and the response just isn't there. At least it hasn't been there to a level that you know, we could point at and say, okay, you know, this is an uprising, or this is a true revolution against these these wicked people." So you know, unfortunately, many times people don't wake up until things get so bad they have no other choice.
And then it's too late.
And yes, and many times then it's just too late. And, you know, people, wake up, expand your consciousness, realize what you're dealing with. Until you realize what you're dealing with, you're never going to wake up. You're never going to be able to put things together collectively as a people to combat this. And it is just that.
Well, they use the evil forces use divide and conquer. They'll use race. They'll use geographic location, socioeconomic status, anything they can to keep the people divided, so that the real culprits of the evil remain difficult to see. And so we have to raise our eyes and ears above what we normally associate with enemies and look at the real people that are causing these problems. And you look for motivation, and you look for the ability to do what's going on, and all of that is at the national, international, corporate level, the so-called New World Order. Sorry, Brian, I just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, I need your help here. If we look at the people in control, at least in the United States, it's the Council on Foreign Relations. And Roy, explain the trilaterals real quick for me, would you please?
Yeah, the Trilateral Commission was started in the 70s by David Rockefeller, no less. And the idea was to impose on the world a technocracy, scientifically based, and I don't want to get into all the details of that, but suffice it to say, it is, for lack of a better term, Luciferian. It's to take away individual rights, especially our individuality, and turn us into a collective, and not in a good sense, not where we're working for each other, but where our very thoughts are controlled, that type of thing, and what we do and what we think. But at any rate, the Trilateral Commission basically it has three. It's a tripod, just like it says, a trilateral situation, and it's based on the military, financial, and spiritual. Those are the three legs of control of mankind. You control those three things, you control everything about them. I like to talk about sex because that's a real good way to, because most people understand this. The whole idea in faith, in the spiritual realm, it's probably not good to say the spiritual realm, but the religious realm, is to control the ideas of what sex are and what it should be, and to actually to denigrate it is what they're doing. And I won't go into a great deal to explain that, but it's one of the ways you can control people is by controlling their understanding of what sex is, what it's about, and demean it rather than put it up on a pedestal where it really belongs, the love between a man and a woman, and what that does for mankind and his elevation of his consciousness. So anyway, the Trilateral Commission is these people that are basically introducing the technocracy to the world to take away your individual choices, your individual freedom.
And their base of operations is Washington, D.C.
Italy and the Vatican primarily, and in London.
Yeah, in London. And we can connect the dots very easily. Who controls these people? And it all ends up with the bankers, the Rothschilds, and they are the ones that claim to be the Jews. Of course, I personally don't believe they're Jews at all. I think they're fake Jews, as Jesus talked about. They're not Jews, but they're from the synagogue of Satan, the Karzais, and that's a whole different subject that we could get into eventually. But the point being, we've had this enmity that goes all the way back in the scriptures that Roy alluded to earlier between the Jews and the Israelites, or the house of Israel. And the scripture even says in Isaiah, that's not going to go away until the Messiah comes. So, and historically, Solomon in that lineage of the Jews has always been oppressing. That's when it really got started. Has always been oppressing the house of Israel. So here we go again, and I call it trying to steal Joseph's blessing, because his blessing was the utmost bound of the everlasting hills, and the west is the real prize. Here they come again. And they got these manipulations that come down through the Trilateralists, the Council of Foreign Relations, and as the CFR really controls this government, controls this country. Interesting enough, that's something that Hillary Clinton just accidentally said recently. So we're going to pick this up again. I'm going to close for now and just kind of think about